Evening, I would like to call the April 19th regular meeting of the Town Council to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sue, would you do the roll call, please?
Marianne Rosa,
Here.
John Ramsey,
Here.
Ken Demers,
Here.
Robert DeCina,
Here.
Jeffrey Desmarais,
Here.
Anthony DeBona, Louis Braza,
No, I just sent you an invite.
Robert Vitalik,
Here.
Rachel Ryan.
Here.
Next item on the agenda is public participation. Is there anyone that's waving their hand to speak with us?
We have two. We have Catherine Camara.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Catherine Camara.
Yes, please.
Catherine Camera, 31 Cottage Place in Oakville. At your last meeting, when you opened the meeting, you said you were opening it for the regular meeting. It wasn't a regular meeting because at a regular meeting, you have public comment. I have no problem if council wants to call a special meeting, but that should have been a special meeting for your budget. Because for the public, I knew in advance, I saw the agenda, but there are people who expect at the monthly meetings that there's a public comment. So, and you only have to have one meeting a month. So I would just suggest in the future, when you have a special meeting, and you should have a meeting like that, a round table on the budget, but that you should call it a special meeting and not a regular meeting. Because that's how the public looks at the regular meetings. It's their opportunity to address our government, which we're getting less and less opportunity to do in this present situation. I also noticed that I have sent in 2 correspondence. They've not been listed as correspondence. They're not in the packet, so I guess I'm going to read my March 18th correspondence to the members of the Watertown Town Council. Oh my goodness, I'm requesting. Sorry, had to pick up my dog. I'm requesting that the town council conduct an.
Continue.
Catherine, I have had the moderator mute your communication. The complaints you're talking about are with regard to personnel. They are in the hands of our attorney, and they will not be read into public session. One of them specifically, according to charter, is privileged information. So if you have something else you'd like to address, we'd be more than happy to listen. Lisa, unmute her.
I didn't hear what you said about the one specifically. I didn't hear what you said. What?
You didn't hear anything I said?
No, I heard some of it, but I didn't hear you said something about one specifically. I didn't hear what you said after that.
One of the charter revisions that you have filed a complaint under, one of the charter sections you filed a complaint under, according to our attorney, is a privacy privileged matter and not for public. So until that is handled by our attorney, it should not be read into the public.
Okay, and what about the 406 complaints that were filed? There was a letter to you with 406 complaints. First,
You'll hear in the chairman's comments tonight.
okay, thank you. I do have another comment about, so I attended the Blast Planning and Zoning meeting, and they have what's called public participation. So the expectation is if the public speaks to them, there's going to be participation with that. I spoke at public participation and I spoke during a public hearing. At the end of that meeting, with no item on the agenda, Mr. Antonetti addressed things that I said in public participation, and Mr. DeVito brought up something that was in the public hearing. Now, you're not supposed to talk about the public hearing when the public hearing is closed. So I know that you have attended, members have attended some of those. I haven't seen anybody from the council attend planning and zoning since the Shaker application for Bunker Hill. But you are the body that oversees your commissions. And I feel that they violated, once again, an issue. If they're going to have public participation and you want to make a comment about something that's said by the public, that should be taken care of during public participation, not saved for the end to sort of give no opportunity for any rebuttal. That seems to be happening like it did with the Town Times. So, these things will reflect on the people who sit on the boards, on the people who sit on the town council, because we're paying a lot of attention to these things right now. So I would suggest you maybe watch that video or, and see what happened at the end and maybe address that with your council. Thank you. I mean, your commission, excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak to us tonight?
Mr. Mickle?
Yes, please. Mr. Mickle?
Go ahead, Mr. Mickle.
There you go.
Thank you. Mickle, 95 Woodbine Avenue. I attended the hearing on the budget, and it was very confusing because in the format that you're in, I can't tell who's speaking, and it's very hard to understand what was said because I can't understand who's speaking. So if you could speak up and maybe say your name when you're talking, that would help a lot. I see that you have another microphone out on the table, so that might help. Thank you. The
Thank
next
you.
thing, if I could be, I would like to attend the Town Council Subcommittee on the Munson House. If I could be notified of when and where, I'd certainly like to attend. Some basic questions, probably for the town manager. The site study for the police station and the senior center is due soon. I'm just wondering, when is it due and when are you expecting it? And the next thing is another question, probably for the town manager, is the old town hall sold? And if not, what's happening? Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, Lisa, that's there to?
No.
Okay.
There isn't anyone else.
Okay, we will move on to the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes. Then we'll make the correction.
Okay. I move to approve the minutes from our regular meeting, April 5th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there corrections?
There was one correction. It mentioned voting on the budget to be sent to public hearing, 1% was not the town manager recommendation to cut the budget. It was a town council recommendation. Just want to clarify that.
With that clarification, all those in favor of that particular correction, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I found a correction on page 11 of the minutes. Down at the bottom where my comments appear, it says $209 for an average home of $166,000. It should say $192. for an average home of 166,000. So I like to see that correction made. All those in favor of that correction, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The minutes will stand as corrected. Next, my comments. We received a petition as it shows under correspondence for a petition relative to hold a referendum on the Watertown High School mascot. The matter's been turned over to our attorney to review and advise the council how we can proceed. I personally have to add one comment. When I saw the petition, I was very upset. Someone took the liberty of copying the town seal or town emblem and putting it on the petition. That seal or emblem is an official town seal or emblem. And no authorization is given to outside organizations to use that unless it's something that's done jointly with the town. I don't know the individual that put together the petition, but I do think an apology to the town is in order. The town council also received, as was mentioned during public participation, several complaints with regard to personnel conduct and other sections of the charter. Complaints have been forwarded to the town attorney so that we act in compliance with the laws relative not only to the charter, but governing our actions with employees and or commission members so that we do everything legally and correctly. Hopefully we'll have correspondence from the attorney soon to deal with that. And the last thing I have is a reminder that our hearing on the budget is this Wednesday, the 21st. It's at 7 p.m. at the high school. 133 people will be allowed in person to attend. That includes all of us. And it includes those that are going to assist us, IT people or department heads that are going to have to be there to answer questions. So, number of public that and interested family members there or anyone you talk to wants to attend, tell them to come early because the first ones in obviously will be the ones allowed. Thank you. We'll get a count on exactly how many town officials and town employees are going to be there, so we know the exact number of public at the door for the count as people arrive. And that will be when we go over the budget with the public, listen to them, answer their questions, and have our town council meeting to set the figures to go to referendum following that hearing. That's all I have, so we'll move on to the town manager's report. Mr. Ramo?
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and members of the Town Council. Just a quick update over the last couple of weeks since we've last met. Our COVID-19 process this past Saturday, we took a much needed break from our vaccine clinic. I want to thank all the volunteers who have given their time to make this effort a success. I would especially like to thank Lisa Catania, who took care of all the behind the scenes work and attended every clinic. We will reopen the clinic again on the 24th of April and reevaluate the commitment every 3 weeks. We will continue to evaluate the need for COVID-19 test site, but at this time we will not schedule, we do not have one scheduled in the near future. I've recently updated our COVID-19 policy to reflect some minor changes in the guidance given from the CDC. White collar negotiations are continuing to move forward. There's nothing really that I could report at this moment. Interviews have been scheduled for the senior center coordinator position, and I hope to have that position filled by the end of April. Public Works Director job scope advisement has been reviewed and will be posted either tomorrow or Wednesday. In the meantime, we will work to put together a selection process for that position. Interviews were conducted for the open position of Supervisor of Operations and Maintenance, created by the retirement of longtime employee Mario Muccichero on April 15th, 2021. An internal employee was filled this position, and this again was for water and sewer. We're continuing to work through the punch list for the Town Hall project. We're moving forward to completing most of those items. The council chamber audio visual equipment has been ordered, and we are expecting installation to commence mid-May. Some community outreach things that's taken place over the last few weeks. I met with the Rotary Club this month, touching base with their group on current events regarding the town. I also had an introduction phone meeting with Congresswoman Johanna Hayes. We spent some time discussing what her office offers to her constituents in Watertown. We also discussed grant opportunities available to towns such as Watertown. And I will follow up with her office to discuss grant opportunities and training for grant writing. Excuse me, I also attended the opening of the Jersey Mike's at the Pioneer Plaza, excuse me, which was this past Monday. The event was well attended. And that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to new business. And the first thing is the review of the budget cuts. I'm going to ask the town manager to review the cuts he has made in conjunction with department heads on the town side of the budget. If you would, Mr. Ramo.
So in front of you, in your package, you should have a budget cuts as they were presented or as we made over the last couple of weeks. So I'll go through these and give you the highlights of the ones that I thought would be of interest to you. And then if you have any questions, we could address the specific line items. But some of the savings some of the cuts that we made under finance administration was the website. We were able to cut $4,100. That was actually the reduction in going from 2 websites, which we were paying as we were paying for our old website and the one we are currently building. We were able to take that money out only because we anticipate going live with the new website prior to July 1. Legal and fiscal, we were able to look at that and kind of sharpen our pencils for that line item. We reduced it by $5,000. If you move down to, which would be described as page 12, Assessor, Professional and Technical Services. This line item, we were able to take $1,500, and basically that's reducing work that would be given to an outside inspector to help the assessor. She felt that she could take on more of that work within her office. Page 17, Planning and Zoning, Professional and Technical Services. Again, this is this reduction of $2,000 was taken out of this line item, which is in there for consultant work to update and revise the regulations for planning and zoning. Move down to item 28, Fire Department Suppress and Rescue, the Low Sap Rewards Program. So Low Sap Rewards Program is the program that we have for our volunteer fire departments. The town council appropriates monies to that line item, and at the end of the year, if the firemen meet the qualifications, that money is split up amongst the firemen. Chief Bromley had asked for the original of $70,000. We reduced it by $2,500. There is still a small increase to that line item, but he felt it was important to sharpen his pencil on that one as well. Page 32, Police Department admins, the maintenance agreements. That was actually a reduction in the IT program. So if you recall, the chief of police discussed the monies that were put aside for IT issues for the new system that was installed. We had actually, when we started, we took out about $40,000, and then we had discussions with our IT department who felt very strongly that we should bring that number back up. So we did only reduce that line item by $21,000. Item 35, Police Department Patrol and Detectives. The law enforcement equipment, that is a reduction of the equivalent to 4 patrol rifles. Item number 38, Police Department Animal Control. Utilities, fuel, and oil and gas. That was actually included in the public buildings line items. We had missed this and didn't pull it out, so we were able to just remove that because it's already in the budget elsewhere. Page number 40, Public Works, Engineering Administration, Training Without Travel. This $5,350 is actually the cost of software that we had proposed so that members of our engineering and highway can use the Udemy software training platform, which is basically gives them the opportunity to do certificate type training. We've taken that out of the budget in hopes to put it back for next year. Page number 45, Public Works Highway Construction Equipment Replacement Fund. Normally the town council puts in $70,000. We cut that back by 50%. So we're hoping to have that 35,000 included into that program for this fiscal year. Page 48, Public Works Solid Waste, the deep order. That's the money that we had talked about, or actually Roy Kavanaugh would have talked to you about. At some point, we're going to have to close our landfill. This money was allocated to cover that if DEEP decides to tell us we have to do that this year. So we removed that from the budget, hoping that we're not going to have to take care of that this year. And just, I think, item number 65, just to be clear, is miscellaneous and non-town agencies, the Transportation Vehicle Replacement Fund. This is actually the replacement fund for the fire truck. Originally, we had asked for $150,000. Under my recommended budget, it was cut to $130,000. And after your request of the additional cuts, we cut it down another $55,000 to bring it down to 50%, $75,000. And I think that pretty much gives you an overview of the cuts. If there's any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
On the proposal that we voted the first time last week, we had it where we were eliminating the $404,000. There would be a $404,000 cut, and in addition to that, the assistant superintendent position. I'm seeing, maybe I'm incorrect, so we can get some clarification. On the second vote, it had $404,000, but does not mention the assistant superintendent position. Now, was this the assistant superintendent position? Was that supposed to be in addition to?
No,
or we just combined it all together?
Because it was the 1%. Move that position and 1%.
I want to make sure it was clear.
Those combined is the 4.
All right. Secondly, on the Edgewood Avenue rehabilitation, we had $114,000 for that. That has been cut. Is that being moved to a subsequent year, or is that is there something else we're planning to do for that?
So at this point, it's going to be the complete removal of the funding that was put into the budget for this coming fiscal year. So there will be no money put aside to do that rehabilitation. The Department of Public Works Director had anticipated putting the $114,000 in this year and then add the additional $80,000 or $90,000 that would have been needed to take care of that project. So we're starting at zero. Hopefully next year we can look at funding that to have that project completed.
Is there anything that will be done to mitigate traffic issues on that road?
Thank you for asking that. I did ask the police commission to consider making Edgewood a one-way, and the one-way would be coming from Cherry to Main Street. This will prevent it'll prevent the amount of traffic that travels on that roadway, which will buy us more time to actually have that road reconstructed in the future.
Okay. And lastly, on page 44, the 2021 truck 4, I see that truck 15 is obviously was recommended, was removed. Here it has 49,000. Is that an addition? Is that an additional swap for that?
There was an additional $4,000 cost. So when we created the first recommended, town manager recommended budget, we were supposed to swap out that truck 15 for truck 4. It was a mistake on my end. When we made this cut, we actually put the correct truck in there, but it did add a $4,000 increase. You know, but we're still at that net reduction of the 404,395.
All right, that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions from the town manager? Yes, Rachel.
Sure. I have a couple questions. It's on page 30, the fire department, the vehicle iPads. It's like almost cut in half. I'm just wondering, how does the fire department use iPads in their vehicles? And what does that mean in terms of like how many fewer iPads?
So it allows for the purchase of 2 additional iPads, and I'm not 100% on that. I believe it's 2 additional iPads. So I didn't just go make these cuts on my own. I did touch base with the department heads and requested their guidance on where we should cut to get this money. So the chief and I discussed this. He felt that he could get away with doing the additional 2 iPads, and they would use those in responding to calls. And I don't really know. I don't have the answer to give you further information why they would need to use those in the truck.
Okay, thank you. And then the next one for the communication equipment. I know that was something that has come up a lot. And obviously, as you just mentioned, you spoke to the chief about that, but any more information on exactly how that's going to impact the communications of the department?
Again, all these cuts are going to impact the town across the board. In collaborating with the fire chief, he felt he could take that reduction. This line item addresses some of their handheld radios and the replacement of those. He felt that at this point in time, he could take that amount and make do for the upcoming fiscal year.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
I have one.
Yes.
Mark, you talked about the fire apparatus, and that was cut in half now. Is that correct?
That's correct. For both replacement vehicle programs, one for Public Works and the one for the fire department, we cut them both 50%. So that leaves, normally the fire department would request 150,000, Public Works would request 75,000. In this, with these reductions, we're contributing 75,000 for the fire and 35,000 for Public Works.
And was this the year that they had enough saved up to purchase a new fire apparatus if they were funded fully?
I believe that this is the year that this 150,000 would have brought them to the point where they were able to replace one of the engines. Off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly which engine it was.
Okay, so this is setting them back another year with the apparatus?
That's correct.
And this is not the ladder truck?
That's correct. That is not the ladder truck in which they wanted to go out for bonding for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to the Board of Ed cuts. I received an email giving information with regard to the cuts that the Board of Ed is going to have to make to meet the $500,000 reduction that the council voted on. Personnel reductions. The following staff reductions are in addition to the 8 paraprofessionals, 1 custodian, and 5 interns that the board already cut this year. Total reductions overall is 26.5 employees. This time they have identified 1.5 security guards, 4.5 classroom teachers, 3 paraprofessionals, 2 library clerks, 0.5 main office secretary, and 1 human resource specialist. And they were going to share that with the town. The impact indicated it increases class sizes of 24 plus at Polk, Judson, and Swift, They have compliance concerns with no ability to obtain 3-foot social distancing between desks and increased overtime pay for COVID cleaning and reduced security at the schools. Item 2 is additional resources and material reductions. The following reductions are in addition to the $45,000 in instructional supplies, $12,000 in custodial and maintenance supplies, $25,000 in substitutes, $17,500 in license mileage, and $90,000 in contracted services used to maintain equipment that the board already cut prior to giving us their budget. They are now cutting an additional $30,000 in instructional supplies, $4,000 in library books, and the summer enrichment program. The impact, they say, is minimal purchases of only basic instructional supplies, an inability to purchase student workbooks and offer summer enrichment program, no updated library resources, unattended facilities and repairs, increased risk to be out of COVID cleaning compliance. The additional cuts total $500,000 as directed by the town council, bringing the fiscal year 22 total cuts to $1,315,749. This immediately will impact the day-to-day operations of the schools, and an understatement, according to the chair, for the hardship that it's going to cause. Just to be clear, so that, because there's a lot of numbers here, they're telling us not only what they've cut now with the 500,000, but what they cut to bring the program to us. So there's dual information, you might say, there for your edification. We will have both the board members and budget person at the public hearing and our finance people at the public hearing. So we'll be able to answer any questions relative to all of the cuts and what any future cut, if recommended by the public, would entail. Move on the agenda to item B.
I move to adopt the resolution supporting fair housing in the town of Watertown.
It's Fair Housing Month. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second,
Are there any questions?
I have a question through the chair. It makes a lot of sense and I'm glad we're doing it. I'm just wondering, did something happen to precipitate this, or? I'm just
I
wondering.
don't believe so. I just believe it because it's Fair Housing Month. We've done it in the past,
Oh, okay.
and so we're doing it again.
Okay.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? The motion passes unanimously. Item C.
I move to authorize the town manager to enter into an agreement with SLR International Corporation for consulting services for the Public Works Department.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's here. One, to enter into an agreement, and then the next one, as you see, would be the appropriation, but are there questions on this one?
To the chair, this might be a question for Mark. What time frame does this cover? One area it says roughly 90 days. I don't know. Everything's gonna be done in 90 days, or if it's gonna expand a little longer than that.
We're expecting to wrap this up completely within 90 days. Actually, the position for Public Works Director is going to be posted, as I said earlier, and I'm hoping that this will all culminate at the point where we're doing the interviews for that position. So we can utilize SLR to sit on the board to actually assist us in making that decision or that choice.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
To the chair. Mr. Ringo, on For SLR International Corporation, does the town have any previous relationship with this organization?
Yes, we do. SLR has done work for the town in the past. They currently have some projects with the town. We went through our town attorney to make sure this agreement was appropriate for not only past projects but for anything while they're currently working for us. So they do have a long established relationship with the town.
Is that the reason why this wasn't put up to bid, or is it also a timing issue? You know, how little time we have to address this situation?
Well, it's a service. It doesn't have to go out to bid.
Okay.
When I went in discussions with the town attorney, we discussed the pros and cons, but with this company, knowing Watertown, it was the best fit for us. It's to our benefit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Through the chair.
Yes, Rachel.
Mr. Ramo, I'm wondering about Mylon and McBroom. I know you mentioned that they were helping us out. Is that, that's obviously they provide different services, but are they still going to be assisting us, or will SLR be able to sort of cover everything that in the meantime?
I apologize. I didn't make that more clear. McBroom has changed their name to SLR, so it's still the same company.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? The motion passes unanimously.
I move to approve an appropriation in the amount of $35,000 from the general fund for consulting services for the Public Works Department.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? The motion passes unanimously.
I move to approve an 8-week wage adjustment for the individuals during the transition period and hiring of the Director of Public Works, Highway Superintendent, Town Engineer, Assistant Town Engineer, Administrative Assistant for a total cost of $5,026.64.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Ramo, would you give us a few comments with regard to this and what they've been doing, if you would?
Yes, thank you. So just a little background. I know most of you know Roy Kavanaugh. He was a very strong leader. He was a department head who did not delegate these types of tasks that were asked of these employees. They stepped up to keep the department running. It was a collaborative effort that should really not be overlooked. They had to do, they had to create our budget because the departure of that position had happened prior to us going to budget presentation. They had to extract the data, and they have to do a lot of work moving forward to assist SLR in getting all our documentation. At our current date today, it looks like we have approximately 7 projects that are in process. So these employees really have to step up and make sure we get all this information to SLR so that we don't lose out on any of the grants or monies that are allocated for the town of Watertown.
Through the chair, in the request, it was for 8-week wage adjustment. What type of adjustment? Was it a percentage for each of these employees, or how was it calculated?
Well, in the past, there's been wage adjustments anywhere from 10 to 20%. After evaluating the amount of work that had to be done by these 4 employees, Paul Benevich, Joe Millette, and Bob Grandpree, we offered them a 10% increase if you are so inclined. Noreen Brady, who is the assistant in the department, we offered 15%. And it's the difference between the wages. Noreen has really stepped up. She's doing quite a bit of the work because she was Roy's a right-hand person, so she has to really do a good portion amount of the work, and I thought it was appropriate for her to get a little bit more to bring her in line with what the other staff would be getting. So this represents 10% across the board for the three, and then 15% for Noreen.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question?
What time frame does this cover?
8
Is
weeks.
but is it going backwards?
Mark,
Yeah, so we're going to go backwards a few weeks, and then we'll go forward a few weeks. We didn't put any of this on the budget. I was hoping to get it on, I'm sorry, on the council agenda last meeting, but we were unable to do that. So I didn't want to leave this open-ended. I think that it should be just a finite amount of time. They're aware of that, and I think this is just sending the right message that, you know, taking care of the people who took care of the town.
Is there a dollar amount savings on this?
There's no savings. It's a cost of $5,026. So there is no savings for this. This is a true cost.
Would it be in lieu of Floyd Kavanaugh's salary?
Yes, it could be in lieu of Mr. Kavanaugh's salary, but that salary is used for sick time payout and things like that. So there isn't much left over after all those payouts have occurred.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
anyone else? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion passes unanimously.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the appropriation in the general fund in the amount of $22,463.91 for tax refunds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anyone have a question? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? The motion passes unanimously.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing tax refunds.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? Motion passes unanimously.
I move to enter into executive session to discuss the collective bargaining agreement between the Watertown Board of Education and the Watertown Education Association. Pending will be the Watertown Town Council members present.
Second.
Okay, I think we will return into the hall.
Or I can do.
All it is.
We reconvene the council meeting after our executive session.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Marion, can I